Here we are. Jeremy Boudinot, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm back in my number one tier two cities, Phoenix, Arizona. Can't
You're in the
complain.
city that I mean, look at the steam rising behind you. Look at that. Oh my gosh.
Nice view of an aquarium
Are you
behind
actually in
me.
Scottsdale right now? Is that
I'm in Scott.
Scottsdale?
I'm in Scottsdale. I'm coming to you live from Nextiva HQ, my old stomping grounds. Spent a great 3.5 years here. I'm in town visiting my old boss,
It
Yaniv.
says a lot about you. First of all, welcome everyone, anyone on the internet, on Spotify, Instagram, not TikTok. We'll get to that, but this is episode
All right.
6. We really mean it. It's January 17th. Um, by the time this comes out, things may happen differently in the world. Some of our opinions and takes may no longer be relevant. But back to you're at Nextiva headquarters, Scottsdale, Arizona. I could tell based on the beautiful sun in the sky behind you. I'm impressed that people. It says something about you that people always invite you back. Like you're welcome in the places that you've abandoned, and or in some cases were thrown out of.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I try to make allies for life. I had a girl recently tell me that I have too many friends. And I was
Well,
like, "Do
this
you
is
have
your arch nemesis deal. You're on a warpath to create more enemies, right?
I'm trying to, but I end up just making friends instead. It's tough." So,
You're too nice. You're too lovable to be hated. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, it's hard. I don't it's something I got to work on. I got to start being more of a dick, I guess. No, it's nice. It's definitely nice. Like when you work somewhere for like 3.5 years, you develop really good relationships with people, and they invite you back. It's cool, man. That's been one of the cool things with work is I've a lot of what started as work relationships turned to like long term friendships,
Yeah.
including here. Now maybe I'll start a podcast with you, Neve. Next in a few years. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, you may have to because I can't. I don't. I can't quite see it. I can't quite see why that happens for you.
I'm a memorable person, man. What can I say?
What I can say is, speaking of the your embracing your inner villain or your arch nemesis era, whatever you're doing, which clearly you're not succeeding at totally, but I got a lot of comments when you and we broke bread together in Texas this week, which was fantastic. First time in a while. And I posted a picture, and I got a lot of chatter about your footwear.
What kind of? Give me
You
some
can't
more details on the chatter.
just exclamation points. People saying to the effect of like, "What's on his feet?" A couple, like at least one OMG exclamation point. It was
Stop.
a handful of comments. And look, I'm not there fishing for engagement, but I got some engagement on that photo.
Guys. All right. So first of all, I'm assuming this is the footwear we're referring to.
No,
They're on right now.
that's
The
not a
winged
prop.
skulls. This is all right. So
Bring
this is
that in a
part.
little closer. Bring that closer to the camera one more time, Mike.
That's right. That's right. This is part of the villain. All right. So I'm trying to be more of a villain. I'm trying to. So like I'm wearing clothes that are evocative of villainous behavior. So like winged skulls on my feet. It's
Perplexed. They looked good in person. I didn't zoom in. In real life, I didn't get that close to the footwear. I was more just perturbed that us, my mutual friend and I, our mutual friend and I, we showed up late. I had a little beef with you. You were already one salad in. Like you'd eaten a salad.
I wasn't waiting for y'all.
We were not that late. I mean, maybe we
Well,
were. How late were we?
by the way, can we go back? Are we sure that people weren't OMGing and exclamation pointing about your belt buckle and not my shoes? Let's not. We're putting the heat on me here, but I mean, that belt buckle
And just
was,
blended. It blended in. No one
it
thought
took up,
anything about it at all.
That belt buckle took up half the photo, bro. It was everywhere. I think I would love to post a poll of whose wear was more egregious, my shoes or your belt buckle. I think there is a toss up.
I like how, just like maybe our political leanings and conspiracy leanings, our fashion leanings are just
Diverging as well.
converging rapidly. I'm
Yeah,
in
and it's
Texas. I'm in Texas going full Texas, committed to the bit. And you are wearing I can only describe as like I'm in Las Vegas to meet someone chic.
yeah. I'm gonna say like Las Vegas or Miami with these shoes. The Sunset Strip in LA. It is funny though, because I like you would have guessed looking at that photo that you're the Texan and I was not anywhere near Texas from that. Um, yeah, refusing to fit in, but it's part of what I do.
You and I, what we do both strongly agree on is you got to zag. You got to keep on their toes.
Everyone's wearing cowboy boots in Texas. You know what I mean? Like, how am I going to stand out wearing cowboy boots and a buckle? You know, they're not wearing skull Gucci loafers.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Be memorable.
This
You know
guy
what I'm
is,
saying?
but this guy is.
Marketing
Hey,
101, buddy.
I thought it looked great. I walked in. It was the first thing I noticed. Second thing I noticed was the empty salad plate.
That's right.
And the third thing I noticed was that you had taken us to an all you could eat Brazilian style steakhouse, which was not what I expected either. And I did zero research beforehand before meeting you. But it was fantastic.
It was. I love how, for the viewers, we spent probably about 3 hours, just like we do on this pod, conspiracy theories, talking about geopolitical issues. Our mutual friend, Mark McWaters, who was like basically the moderator, kind of just sat there.
I think there were times where he was like, "Where am I? What do they say? Are they talking about things I should know about?"
So the basically a mirror of our podcast, our real life conversations. This is just an extension of those.
That's the whole inspiration. That's the whole reason we. That's the reason we do this. We
Yeah,
just get
and
on
then
and hang out on the internet.
exactly recorded for the people. So yeah, it was great seeing you, man. I love that dinner. It was so much fun, and it's one of the benefits of living in one of your favorite cities, the Metroplex. You
The
know,
problem is I had to go meet. I had to leave that and go to a second evening event with a work partner, just full of protein. Just
yeah,
not, there was no
food
portion
coma.
control at the Brazilian steakhouse.
No, you should have gotten the espresso, dude, at the end of the meal. You got to do that. That's a pro move,
The last
amateur
call
hour.
out. The last call was amateur hour. The last call out is we've been sitting there for, like you said, I don't know, 2 hours. It was great. 5 out of 5 stars. And then my guy, you're like, yeah, we'll do dessert. I was like, how are we? Let's do it. Bring the
My
dessert menu, please.
the CEO of Tesla, Luke Brickman, he always orders dessert when we go out to eat. He's got me on the dessert train. Like I used to not be a dessert guy. Now it's become a habit.
I did like a
So
triple take, but it was awesome. It was super fun. I kind of wish we had have just like recorded that conversation because we were in some deep holes. We were down some dark paths, if you will.
we were. Yeah.
But I'll bring us to a. I think this will be an interesting one because I think public sentiment has swapped back and forth over the past days, but certainly weeks. Once again, this is January 17th. We, I think, are like 24 to 48 hours away from the infamous alleged TikTok ban. Jeremy, is it going to? I guess number one, should we ban TikTok or should we not? And then part B or part two, is it going to happen?
So first of all, let me say I'm coming to this as someone who recently worked for an influencer marketing company where most of the spend for our brands who we worked with was on TikTok. There's like a whole economy here
Intimate
around
knowledge of that market
it. Very intimate knowledge. Also, I was an early adopter of TikTok back in the day,
checks
next
out.
to a Gen Z coworker of mine. Yeah. Well, first of all, no, we should not ban it. It's insane.
Ooh,
I like. think this is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. I actually never really thought it was going to come to pass because I couldn't imagine the US actually banning such a popular platform. It's unprecedented as far as I'm aware. And I think it's funny, by the way, because I saw a lot of people who I know are Biden supporters, and Biden's the one doing this to them. And now Trump's talking about coming in and saving it.
Well, this is the interesting, maybe we'll call it a flip flop, maybe we'll call it a seesaw, but like, I think, I think that the timeline goes, here's how the timeline works in my mind. Because I'm pretty sure that Trump was originally anti TikTok,
He
as
was.
well as a
Yeah.
lot of the, let's call it just like the general right, or more conservative side. And the storyline is like, you know, to not make it like controversial, but the CCP has, you know, kind of the ability to influence what especially the youth are reading and seeing, and this is driving whatever things, but you know, accusations, and that was like the original core, part of the core anti TikTok movement. It's
Yes.
either generating a bunch of insights about Americans or its ability to influence what they're seeing. So I think that started.
That was a fear from there. I think the bigger fear was the data capture. I guess they had I don't, I apparently TikTok, I'm not familiar with the full intricacies of it, but they have more access to data, like on your personal data when you download TikTok than like other social platforms do. And I think that's what alarmed the government the most. And that's probably the biggest thing I heard as far as pushback was we don't want China essentially spying on us with all this, with the, the data they're pulling from, people's personal smartphones. So that was kind of the big argument against it back in the day. I was never super worried about that because I'm not convinced that I think that like Meta and Google probably know just as much as the Chinese do. I think people, what I think the seesaw has been people kind of being like, well, do they really know that much more about us? Like Meta and Google and these guys know pretty much everything. Like how much more does China know? I think the real issue is that the argument became, well, do we want China having this information? My sense is I actually don't care. Like, and I don't think they're influencing us to the like, are they influencing the youth? I actually don't think they are that much. I think the TikTok algorithm actually has been great for me because I've sort of trained it to give me like nonstop motivational clips and
The
stuff like that.
Goggins,
Yeah,
the
it's a
Goggins
it's a
one with
bunch
the
of
focus.
dude. It's
Focus.
a bunch of Goggins stuff.
Who's going to
Whereas what
carry the boats?
who's going to carry the boat? So it's like if I go on Instagram, it's like jokes about like doing cocaine and being at the after parties. 3 a.m. I'm like, I've been
Hey,
sober for like 6 years. And so, 5 years, I should say. But yeah, so it's kind of funny. I actually think, I would argue that probably the content on Meta is just as bad, if not worse, than on TikTok. And I would, I would say that as far as the data privacy stuff, I'm not convinced. I want them to prove that they actually, are collecting less data than our own government probably is on us with like Meta.
sounds like something a CCP agent would say. That's what I hear.
Sees-
I'll take. I mean, this is not. I'm trying. I don't want to like hot take this thing, but so I am, and I was for this when this became like a talking point from. I don't know if Trump originated it, but I certainly think he was. He kind of like accelerated it to the mainstream view of like that we should ban or. Um, I think the original thing was we were going to either force TikTok to be divested from ByteDance, which is a Chinese company, or we were going to ban it. I think that was floated. If I have my timeline correct, the Biden administration actually set out to do it. And then the Supreme Court, which is now conservative leaning because of appointees during the Trump administration, has, as of Friday today, upheld that decision to ban it. Now, what's happened even more recently, like with it, like what I've been reading today, is that Biden is not going to. There's possibility that he will wait. He will have a extension, and then the Trump administration can actually be the deciding factor. I think, as I understand.
Yeah, that I would like to see that happen. I suspect something like that will happen because I just don't. I mean, the act of them actually doing it actually just seems so nuts to me. I don't. It seems fundamentally un-American to like block such a popular
But
app.
here, I'll do the other thing. Like, I actually think the original stance of allowing an authoritarian, antagonistic, in this case, whether it's like I think communist also is part of it, but like I think that is correct. Like we're allowing, and I don't think I think it's incorrect that we to say like they don't put their finger on the scale. I think the same accusation of like American social media companies, whether whomever is being blamed on at the moment, whether it's Twitter, X, or Facebook, Meta, or Instagram as part, like all of those things have all of those products and the companies behind those products. I mean, Musk is complaining about this with Wikipedia like a week ago. Like any of these things where the management, the people behind that product or service can tip their finger on the scale. Musk is getting like lots of accusations about doing this via X.
Twitter, yeah.
I think that's bad. I think it's bad outright. I think it's also proven that all of them do it to extents based on whatever the whim is at the time. And I think it's bad. I think it's bad to have a antagonist, and I would say that you and I agree that China is anti-America overall. Like 170 million people in the U.S. use or have access to TikTok. I think maybe more, like 180. I don't think that we should allow. I think it's not the craziest thing to be like, we're not going to allow direct access, direct influence, and data collection. Like those are 3 points where I think is like that's not the craziest thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the influence thing. I think the stuff I saw YouTube and Meta doing with like censoring COVID scientists was worse than anything I've seen on TikTok. TikTok has been, I've gotten served up a lot of political and historical and conspiracy content on
Yeah, but
TikTok.
you're in like how this works. Like, you may not be in the demographic to be swayed. I mean, right now, if
Well,
you go post something that's critical of, if you go post a Tiananmen Square image, is it going to get taken down?
on TikTok, I haven't tried. That's a good question. Is that can you post sort of anti-communist or anti-China stuff on there? I have not looked into that, but in terms of it, like in terms of censorship for like things that are affecting Americans, I haven't seen it. I mean, I thought the stuff that was happening on X, where they were banning scientists during COVID, on YouTube, on Meta, where they were doing all. I mean, they were banning scientists across all three of those platforms. That's worse than anything I've heard TikTok doing. So again, I don't think that their censorship's the biggest problem I have when it comes to social media. And I haven't seen TikTok doing that or heard of TikTok doing that at all. I think they've been pretty open. And what their algorithm does is it learns what you like and what you want because it has like really good access to your personal data. So it tends to actually, if it does anything, it's going to serve up content that is you're going to be most interested in, regardless of whether that is like, I think like China approved or not. Its main goal is to get you like hooked, and it's the most addictive. That's like the thing I've heard. It's the most addictive of the social media platforms.
Don't you think that poses a risk if you can get, based on interaction and engagement and based on personal data collection, you can get a really good look at, I mean, you've done this at Ubiquitous, like you and I have certainly talked about this in the marketing world. Like if you know that much deep demographic is like, that's beyond demographics. That's like, you're like at a core level of like, is this consumer influenceable in this decision? Then like that's a huge wedge to basically shift and or manipulate, sensitive word, but manipulate the perception. And I think the way that we see this happen on Twitter and on Reddit, or now X and Reddit, is if you just downscale alternative views,
Yeah.
then what you see from you may be a young person and you may be whatever, you may be following general news stuff, but you're like, oh, I don't see anyone talking about this subject, or I don't see anyone for this thing. I only see people for an alternative view. That creates a perception, which I think could be very politically important, that like the other thing is not supported, or the other thing is like wildly more supported. Does that make
Well, let
sense?
me ask you this: like in the marketplace of ideas, let's say that like TikTok is like they do have a pro, let's call it East agenda. That's opposite of what the agendas are for like Reddit or Twitter or YouTube. In the marketplace of ideas, isn't that a good thing then that people can go on there and get exposed to like, okay, I'm not seeing these things on these other channels, but I'm seeing them here. Here's a different POV, you
I
know?
think in a perfect world, sure. In the perfect capitalist world, I'd say you're probably correct, or most correct. I think the risk that I'm talking about is like the consumer may think they're getting that. They may think, and I think this is what Musk is going to get, is getting some blowback on TBD if he'll ever have any consequences for it. But like, if you think that you're in a perfect equilibrium room where all of the ideas are being represented equally, and like, oh, I'm seeing this thing that's popular, but you're hiding it, or you are, in that case, like, downscoring or downweighting the influence of other things to make it appear as if that thing is more popular than it is, or another thing is not having support. I think that you and I talked about this a bunch at dinner, and we talked about it before on this, like the world is way more gray, and like
Yeah.
in a world that we agree is like not a perfect equilibrium of capitalism, perfectly equal scenario, like I would err on the side of like not letting an antagonist be able to do that, because I think that is I think it's dangerous. It's like
Yeah.
mainlining propaganda.
Well, I mean, I would say this, even within the US, there's lots of stuff about Google. I remember like the All In podcast, an interesting analysis of like search results for Trump on Google. And like they were all negative. They clearly had weighted it to where like it was only going to serve up the negative stuff at the top of page one. So like this is already happening even internally inside of the US. So we have, even within our own country, like a split division, and that's being pushed where one side's being pushed clearly by tech giants. So I'm not too worried about like TikTok coming in. I actually think TikTok being a complete outsider as a Chinese company. I mean, it's almost like maybe this is weird, but I almost like kind of trust them in a weird way more because like they're not one side or the other. You know what I'm saying? Like whereas I've seen with Google.
That's the most insane thing you've ever said.
What do you mean?
That is insane. I trust them more. Like
I do. I really do.
this is the
I
whole
don't trust
idea.
our
Like,
own.
I know that's crazy, and like you're on one hand, I think you're making a good point that we have these influences. We have people who tip the scale one way or another, but like,
I haven't
I'd
seen the
argue
scale tipped.
that people are totally fine with that when it comes to Fox News or CNN or News Nation. Like people are fine being like, oh, I tune into this channel because that's what I get what I want to hear, or whatever. Like,
I guess my thing is I haven't seen the scale tipped by TikTok. I think it just I think if you're probably super liberal and the algorithm shows you that like, okay, this dude loves liberal stuff, we're gonna just serve him a bunch of liberal stuff. That's how it works. And then if you're like me, you're super conservative, you're gonna get a bunch of pro America, super conservative stuff. So I think from my personal experience with it, that's why I've seen. It's kind of, it'd be like if Google like served your results based on like, you're a Fox News watching dude and you're going to want to see all pro Trump stuff versus you're a liberal dude and you're going to see all pro liberal stuff. That's more of what TikTok's like in terms of how the algorithm's working. So it's kind of its own thing. It's a little bit different than like, I would say Google, and then it's probably more like X. And by the way, have you heard the thing about Musk talking about buying TikTok being floated?
I'll
What are
give
your
you
thoughts on that?
That's a good question. I'll give you I could be proven wrong, proven radically wrong, imminently, I guess. My prediction, and like this is not, I'm not saying this is like a indictment on the dude, but like I think we've forgotten how like Trump is probably the most quid pro quo open pork barreling politician we've ever seen. Like almost to a level that's kind of like incomprehensible. Like he is like everything is available to be
Capitalism.
pork barreled into something else. It's worthwhile, folks. Folks should go like actually like read a little bit about this because you're not going to catch it in the headlines. But what I think will happen is there will be a deal. My guess is that deal is largely driven because of Trump trying to extract other concessions and or because he's scratching other people's backs. Like Jeff Yass, who's a big Republican donor, big TikTok owner, investor, has met with him a handful of times. I'm sure he put a bunch of money into the campaign process and supporting the campaign. Recent Mar-a-Lago visitor, what's his name? Maya Shodi's son, SoftBank guy, like big investor in TikTok, benefactor of TikTok. Like you got a lot of people. Like there are more people who I think a typical person would not realize is involved or is a downstream impacted person are close to Trump. And
Yeah.
Trump can, on one hand, be like very antagonistic of, China, but at the same time, he's like, well, Jeff Yass is, I think, invested
My
like
boy.
$billions in this company. He's my guy. Like,
Yeah.
whatever. My guess is that, fast forward. My guess is that there'll be a 7th hour deal, and that deal, I think, definitely could include. I don't know that Musk could outright buy or X could like outright buy TikTok, but some type of investment and or like this person is joining the board of TikTok USA or something like that. I actually think that is a very logical, unsurprising thing to happen in the next, I don't know, handful of days.
I'll tell you, this will surprise you. I actually don't want Musk to own both X
Well,
and
it's
TikTok.
consolidation of power, right? Like imagine
Yeah.
he has
No.
influence on another thing.
No, I don't want that. I would rather China continue to own and operate TikTok than Musk. I don't want to I think it's healthy to have power dispersed. So I'm not in favor of that. So also, I love Musk, but his Neuralink thing scares the shit out of me. And I could see TikTok being, it's too playing into that. That's a conspiracy rabbit hole. We don't have to go all the way down it, but
Are we
yeah,
gonna like go into like Ready Player One, like people
yeah.
just mainlining in their home bedroom closet?
Not trying. No, yeah, that does not seems a little bit too dystopian for me. So, yeah, my hope is that Trump does not. I hope he just lets them operate, but I don't know what's going to happen. I think your scenario is extremely plausible. So,
We'll see. Next time we do
we'll
this,
see.
we'll revisit episode 6. I think I would bet on a deal. I'll give you a bonus future BT bet also.
Okay, let's hear it.
Um, and I don't love this. I actually hate this, but it's very logical to me. Um, I think Donald Trump is something like 60% owner of DJT stock, which is the publicly traded company that owns Truth Social. Not making well, very broadly stated, the company's worth billions of dollars and does like $4 million of revenue and loses like 20+ million dollars a
Let's
quarter. Like it's a poorly
go.
run company. It is not a company that should be worth billions of dollars, I guess is my summary. And I expect timed around closely with the inauguration, X will buy Truth Social, and it will be spun as a two parter here. One is like Musk will be like, you know, the president needs to reach the most people in the world. That's X. Like he should be doing this via this platform. We need to give that to the world. And on the other side, I think Trump could say something to the effect of like, being the whatever percent owner of this publicly traded company while I'm, president is like a bad look, so we're deciding to partner with Musk and take it private, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's going to be a deal that makes Trump like multiple billions of dollars just by like funneling it into
Let's go.
X.
Play the game, baby.
To be clear, I do not support that plan, but I guarantee that's going to happen.
You should post that prediction on Truth, Brian. I'll retruth it.
Well, I don't have a truth. I don't have a truth account. I don't want to have a truth account, and yeah, the prediction has been made.
It's a good prediction. I could definitely see that happening. So Trump being the art of the deal, if you will.
The art of the deal to the guy who already has been announced that he's going to have an office inside the White House.
I love it. Yeah, we'll get a truth social account going for the pod, and we can take part in the acquisition.
That's all you. I'm gonna let you handle all that.
Sounds good.
All right, let's switch off the TikTok topic because, as you know, I'm out on it. I'm out on it. Let's ban it. We're banning it from the pod going forward.
Deal.
I want and like I noticed this. Give you a little compliment. I'm gonna lead with a little bit. You've been putting in some work. You've been in the gym.
Right. Body by boot net, buddy. It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. It's not a thing right now. It's a way of life.
It's a way of life. Very simple. People ask me, how did you lose so much weight? I was like, I worked out and I ate good. Like it's pretty simple. It's like it's not some magic thing. Like I'm at the gym or running and then I'm eating healthy. I don't drink anymore, so that helps too. Yeah, body by boot net, man. Compliment.
But you do order desserts. Well, what I was going to get to though is like there's a thing that we were laughing about, which is like how dudes compliment each other about their like physique or fitness or appearance, like in super weird ways.
Yes.
It's like
yes,
like women. And this is my experience. Like women are like will genuinely be like, Susan, you look amazing. Like whatever, your hair looks great. Like dudes don't do this. And
no,
like a good,
absolutely not.
I mean, I tried to just do one organically to you, but like I had the other day, I saw this dude in the gym. Nice, great dude. He's like, it's almost like a backhanded compliment. It's like,
yes,
oh, you've been working pretty hard out there, huh? It's like, whoa, what's like, hold on, dude. Chill.
The classic male way of doing compound physique is like, bro, are you on steroids or something like that? Like it has to be like a diss. Yeah, you're cheating. You can't just give an outright compliment. I agree though. I mean, I remember back in college, the guys never compliment each other. We just didn't do that. It would be like shit talk disguised. Like you'd say something mean to them, and that was like your way of complimenting them. It's like, dude, Boots, are you anorexic? Like things like that.
Yeah, like what is the deal? Like, why can we not? Like, I would never. Like I said, I'm doing it. I'm doing the opposite. You look great. I saw you the other day in person, but I'm not walking up being like, dude, you look awesome. I'm never gonna do it. I'm like, why is your hair so short?
It's yeah, exactly. So there's an interesting like psychology around it. And one more example is my brother. When I lost a bunch of weight in law school, I saw him. He's like, dude, Slim Thug looking ass or something like that. Just like
That's a Memphis compliment.
The most Memphis compliment ever.
It's like a compliment wrapped in a diss, wrapped in like it's like check style. Like he's checking it and he's dissing you, but he's happy that you look good.
Exactly. Which honestly is like exactly how I want it. Yeah, I think it goes back to, I remember reading a Bill Simmons article once where when he interviewed Obama came up to me and he was like, he did this alpha male move where like he like dissed me but also complimented me at the same time. And I love the way he described it as an alpha male move where like it's a sign of like an alpha male like can't just like go up to another man and be like, dude, you look so good. It's like too deferential. It's like almost like it's a weird, it like degrades you somehow if you do that. So you have to like kind of like find this middle ground. So
do you think there's like I mean, that's really interesting. Like this is like thousands of years of human psychology, or hundreds of thousands of years, maybe millions, lizard brain psychology. Like, this is old school frontal cortex shit. Just
Yeah.
like, I can't do it.
I'll also add to work. I don't think like, and this goes back to you because you were my boss at Ambition, but I'm thinking of all the
This
male,
is
yeah,
this.
I mean, sort of in a way, but I actually you know what's funny is all my male bosses I've had literally never complimented my work. Like ever. Like it's kind of funny. It's like we just don't do that. We don't say, hey man, you're doing great, you're doing a great job, like really outstanding campaign. It's like it's just funny. We won't do that. We'll be like, just we won't say anything. We won't say anything negative, and then we'll just like give you a raise.
I feel
That's
like this was an indictment on. This is more of an indictment on my management style.
it's not though, dude. Because I'm thinking about like at Nick Steve, it was the same shit. Like Eve never was like, dude, you're crushing it. He would never say it. He would never say that. Like that's just not. But he gave me 3 raises. And then like Tesla, same thing. Luke's never like, dude, you're killing it. You're doing a great job. It's like we're just gonna keep going. You know what I'm saying?
There, yeah, I need to like think about that more. One, maybe a terrible person to work for, but two, yeah,
I don't do it either. I don't tell guys you're crushing it. I will if I compliment them, it's only in front of someone else who I'm introducing them
yes.
to as like a new hire.
Well,
That's
I
the
was
only
gonna say,
time.
like, I do feel like there is a pattern that I hope I subconsciously I hope I continue to do this, which is like when I'm on a call, especially if it's like our company plus other people, like I want to make sure I compliment you in front of the partner, or in front of like or a salesperson, in front of a customer. Like, Mark is this guy. He's worked with like a bunch of the Fortune 500 sales organizations we work with. Whatever. Like, I do think that's a thing, and that is true. Like, those are not like falsehoods, but you're right, man. It's. I wonder if that's startup culture. Like, I wonder
It
if
might
that's
be.
we are like something great happens, to your point, great marketing campaign, or we do something and a ton of leads come in, and like immediately the thought is like, cool, I need more of that. That was
Yeah.
like, let's do that again. It's not like, man, what a success.
What a
We're like,
success.
we
I
closed the
think
laptop.
you know what's funny though? I think in a way it's also there's like this funny healthy thing about it where it's like you're also protecting the guy from getting his ego inflated. You know
Ooh,
what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
you don't want the ego is the enemy or whatever. So like it's kind of keeps the ego in check a little bit, which I don't know. I'd argue that's a good thing. You know what I mean?
From working with you, I would say that there's no anchor on the ego.
There's no. It need every anchor it could have.
It can't be tied down. When you walk in with those loafers, I don't know what the Tesla guys think, but I'm like, this guy's out of control. He needs to be
It's
taken. He's having to pay. They're docking his pay. They're
yeah, no,
resetting his
exactly.
base.
It's one of my blessings and curses is a pretty big ego when it comes to work. I've actually really checked it in the last few years. I've gotten much better about like partnering with other people and taking feedback and considering maybe I don't always have the best ideas, but it's still healthy to have a good ego. But I do think that I do think not complimenting people guys directly. I do think in a way there's a good aspect to it where it's like you're not just like puffing. They don't see you as like puffing them up or whatever. And it's also it actually helps both people, you know, in a way.
I'm
It's
gonna
like a
start
mutual
texting
respect.
you. I'm gonna start texting you dude to dude compliments that I
See,
witness
that would
or
yeah.
experience. We'll start having a running total, and
I don't
and
want
then
that because I
we're
feel
gonna
like
figure out how many are negative, like how many are like the, oh dude, like hitting it hard, huh? Like fuck you. What?
I will say last thing on this topic is that one time in law school we were going to a party for St. Patrick's Day in Pittsburgh, and I was with these guys, and like they were all like gassing each other up, and it
Mm,
made me uncomfortable. I was like,
really?
this is. I was like, this isn't how it's done. Like, this is not the way.
Maybe
You know
it's a
what I mean?
regional. We may have to tap into the community. Like, I wonder if this is like a regional, uh, uh, you know, a colloquial difference between,
The
I
South.
don't know. Yeah, maybe we're just in a bubble in the southeast.
I don't. Maybe. I mean, Arizona. I mean, I've seen Arizona and my New York. I don't think they do it, but this is the Midwest. Maybe it's a Midwest thing. I don't know, or a West
Might be
Coast
a Rust Belt thing. Those
Rust
guys
Belt
those
thing.
guys need it. They're like, we've been
They did.
down. We've been down for a couple decades.
It really might be a Rust Belt thing. We need to like
Since they moved the plant to Mexico, we've been down bad.
the down bad guys. Like, yeah, guys, we were all unemployed. All support we can get. That's a good poll. You should poll. We should ask that on Instagram or something. I like it.
All right, I think let's wrap. We got a lot of interesting. We've now moved into. I don't know if we'll call it like a recurring segment, but we got a lot of positive Mount Rushmore feedback in the last couple weeks from when we did the emo albums, Mount Rushmore of emo albums.
Yes.
And you came at me hard earlier this week about basically terrible bands. I felt attacked a
Yes.
little bit.
Yes.
I was about to catch a stray. I felt like I caught not even a stray. I was actually sniped directly by you. But we pivoted that into let's do a quick end of pod terrible band Mount Rushmore. And I'll let you lead because you're I think the one with the more saucy takes here.
Yeah, and I do have very saucy takes, and I'm glad we're talking about this because I love music, and we went positive last time, but we got to go negative this time, man. So I'm gonna start with my first band that belongs to Mount Rushmore, and this is a band that I would say what they did to white millennial culture circa 2010 was unforgivable. I'm not sure we've recovered.
Set us
Uh,
back for a
yeah,
generation.
yeah, it sets back for generations. Of course, I'm talking about Mumford and Sons. Just a god awful, just hell sent from hell bunch of dudes. Look at these motherfuckers. The banjo, the hat, the facial hair really embodied terrible sort of pseudo bohemian white millennial culture around 2010, 2011. This whole ethos is why like millennials can't afford to buy houses right now.
Oh
It's
my
because of
god.
bands like these encouraging them to go like start microbreweries and like buy moleskin notepads and just work out at coffee shops on their like pet projects. Like terrible music, Little Lion Man, like just a fucking god awful song. I rarely get the ick with girls. I almost never do. But watching a chick I was talking to sing this with her friend of hers karaoke, I was like, oh man, I'm not into you. So yeah, just hate that. And she otherwise had great taste in music, but Mumford and Sons fucking sucks. Blonde number one, my Mount Rushmore. Number two, of course, I'm talking about a band a lot of people love, but I just can't get into, and that would be Queen. Great historical thing here where a guy from a band I do love, the Sex Pistols, walked past Queen while they were recording and asked them if they brought ballet to the masses yet. Not into it. Not into like the like genre hopping, falsetto. Bohemian Rhapsody kind of sucks.
What
I'll go ahead and say
what
it.
a thing.
Kind of sucks, dude. When I hear on the radio, I'm like, fuck these guys. So Queen's also my Mount Rushmore. Another one people are gonna hate. Actually, I'm gonna save this one for last. Actually, but my third one, Panic at the Disco, ruined emo. I would say this is the band that ended like the third wave of
You think
emo.
you think this is the downfall? It
Yeah,
basically took him for like from 2008 like to it's kind of like the financial crisis. Like what was this? 2008, 2007, and it didn't really come back until like 2014.
these guys were the equivalent of the financial crisis, exactly for emo. Like they basically started the downfall. The credit default swaps. This was the Lehman Brothers of emo right here. I remember when I saw "I Write Sins Not Tragedies" for the first time, the music video, and just I was like the target demographic for that. I think it was like freshman or sophomore year of college. I just had this sinking feeling of like, shit, this is the end. Like
It's
if
like it's like in The Big Short when they're like, going to like Miami to look at the housing market, and like the strippers like, I have five houses, and he's like,
Yes.
we're at the top.
This
There's
was
a bubble.
that was there's a bubble. Like that was the moment for me. I was like, this fucking sucks. Like I'm not into this. Like, and sure enough, I was right. It basically collapsed in on itself like a dying star and didn't recover for about 4 or 5 years. So thank you, Panic at the Disco. And then my last one, Fleetwood Mac. And this is a band who I don't know if I hate them as much as I kind of like don't trust women who are huge Fleetwood Mac fans. I kind of hate the lore around this band where they were all sleeping with each other and they wrote all these breakup songs
Hold on, time
about
out.
each other.
All
Yeah.
right, we need to asterisk the women who like Fleetwood Mac as a risk, and or like a red flag. We can call it a red flag here.
Yes.
That's one we may have to come back to in the future. I'm sorry. Continue with the lore.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, just, I don't know. I think the music's, it's fine, but maybe it's not so much a hymn as I think they're like super overrated. Like, it's not, it's good, but it's like I don't know. It's like the Eagles. It's like they're just it's kind of like just banal California '70s rock. They have one great song, which is "The Chain," which I love, but the rest of it I could sort of take it or leave it. So, but yeah, that's my. I'm not a fan of those guys. So I know a lot of people are. I'm sorry, but it came to mind for me. So BC, let's hear yours. I want to hear your
Actually, I mean, I'm
Mount
rethinking
Rushmore.
everything right now. What I'm rethinking, like based on your opinions about TikTok, your your disdain for Fleetwood Mac, like I'm like, I may have to join a different pod. I may have to be.
This is we diverge, buddy. I mean, hey, this is
We were on
healthy debate.
the panic. The panic take was good. I actually think your Mumford Son and Sons takedown is it's like it's the difference between being like a unifying force or being a divisive force. And
Yes,
to me, the anti Mumford and Sons stance, that's something that could bring America together. I
I
mean,
think so.
really, all of the West. You could bring the West together because everyone knows the people who are too into that band, um, or who like made that their personality, circa 2011 with the hat and like you're going to having a
Spender.
moleskin notebook. Oh my, yeah, not wearing belts anymore for no reason. That checks out. The Fleetwood Mac take uh is horrendous, but I'll move on. I'll
Okay,
move on,
fair.
and I'll start with two bands that I think really uh, just confused dudes in the early 2000s, led a lot of guys astray, and put them in, may have set them back for life. Honestly, like if you were the kid in high school, middle school, who was like, I'm in on Good Charlotte, like you haven't recovered. Like you're now like 35, 40, you work at a professional job, and you're just not back. Like you're the path of what could have been. You took the wrong road at the at the crossroads of life, and you're toast. And these guys, these two fucking brothers, it's their fault. They were terrible. Similarly, and you know, I get it. One hit wonder, but a band that just, I mean, even seeing the picture,
Yeah,
Evanescence, it's like you hear the single initial note of this song anywhere you are, and you're just like, damn it, like this is horrendous. People, angsty people were like, this is great. It's terrible. It's terrible music. It's a terrible vibe. It is I don't know, this post pseudo hardcore thing. It's just all bad. I'm gonna throw a shot at you. The next one. This is a precursor, a band that you kind of mentioned some of its contemporaries of Sex Pistols or the Stooges, but Sonic Youth is a thing.
hate
I
this
just
take.
can't. understand. I've
Hate
never
it.
understood it from like folks in the. I think their timeline is like mid '70s to early '80s. Like, there's actually amazing bands then. Like, there are amazing bands that are, you're starting to have like the West Coast grunge era. You've got these bands in New York doing cool stuff, and like I actually thought I was wrong about this. Here's a real. We were texting about it. I was like, I'm gonna go listen to the top 5 songs on Spotify of Sonic Youth just to like see if there's one of those songs that I like, and I'm like wrong about this, and I just don't remember the good song they have. I'm not wrong. None of the songs are good.
Bro,
None of them are memorable. It's like a fake band.
I'm so out of this take. That's okay. You didn't like Teenage Riot, one of the greatest like alternative rock songs of all time. It's fine. Your taste. I question your taste. Daydream Nation, Pitchfork's #1 album of the 1980s.
It wasn't.
Incredible.
I wait. I did the research. I spent like 25 minutes doing this. All the songs. It was. It was. Yeah. It was lackluster. It was
Okay,
lackluster.
fair, fair. I
And
do
then
think they're somewhat overrated, but I think they're incredible. But go ahead, go ahead. We'll agree to disagree on that one.
somewhat overrated, but incredible. All right. Then I think the last one. I suspect we're gonna pseudo agree on.
Mm,
Outside of one
we
song,
will.
Bloody Sunday. This is a horrific band that somehow like they convinced America, they convinced Steve Jobs, they convinced so many people that this is like the pinnacle of I guess late '80s, '90s pop, or I don't even know what all categories they fit into. But Steve Jobs, it's kind of like Stuxnet. Like, it's like a malware. Like, when they put the U2 album on every single person's iPhone, that is like the most insane thing that's ever happened. And it should have been like, you want to talk about a government ban? Like, Apple should have been fined by the Department of Justice or the SEC or someone for forcing every purchaser of an iPhone to have the Red Album.
I agree. I agree. I so couple thoughts on you two. Number one, I do love their early stuff, like their very early albums, like "I Will Follow" is a great song. I do like "Bloody Sunday," "Pride in the Name of Love," all those. But like, yeah, everything that came out kind of after that sucked. And their descent into self parody is just unbelievable. It's incredible. I feel like they're propped up. I feel like Bono's compromised. He's probably on Epstein's list, if I had to guess. Last thing I'll say is that there's a great diss of these guys by Henry Rollins, who is famously lead singer of Black Flag, where he said the Clash are what you two wish they could be. Where just basically dissing them as a faux like political anthemic band that actually is completely devoid of any meaning, which I agree with. So I
And
like this
Henry
pick.
Rollins is a real one, and that's
He's a
like
real one.
probably from before they became the parody. Like, I'm like there. That's like way before they became like the pop version of U2, like the early 2000s version of U2.
Right. Right. Yeah, it was. So yeah, good picks, man. I disagree with Sonic Youth. I love the Evanescence and Good Charlotte take. I do think anyone who listened to Good Charlotte and really liked them probably has not recovered. Like if you were into Good Charlotte or Mumford and Sons, it's probably over for you, bro. Like you might just need to like leave the US and start a new life somewhere
I was
else.
gonna
That's
say,
my
like, how do you restart your persona? Like, how do you reboot your persona in a place where someone will never find you again?
if someone was into both those bands, like they're
Come
super
on,
fucked. Like, because
come
there are those people, I guarantee, who like made the pivot from like I'm not emo anymore. I'm like this like folk bohemian dude now, and
on.
those poor bastards. It's just over.
That is a rough couple years. Like, if you did the decade from Good Charlotte from 2003 to Mumford Sons 2013, and you were going from like the skinny jeans with the belt, the metal studded belt, and then you pivoted into like handmade suspenders and a that were rolled up, like the rolled up jeans, like a high water with a long beard. It
Beard
was that
oil.
was a rough go. That's a rough go.
Yeah, yeah. You honestly like just you're probably on whatever the newest cultural fad is at this time. It's just a godless existence, in
That's
my opinion.
that's why America needed a more substantial enemy in the early 2000s and aughts. Like we just needed something to unite us against that happening. That's like
Yeah,
that's idle hands, devil's playground type of stuff. Those
exactly.
people
We
just
need
didn't have
it.
anything to believe in.
I'm gonna start a new thing called Americans Against Mumford and Sons. That's gonna be my a new group that I create. You've inspired me, buddy.
This was incredible, incredible run.
Agreed, man. Yeah, good stuff. Well, we'll disagree on a few of the bands. I think for the most part we're in agreement, which I think is good.
Let's wrap it. There's going to be a lot of news coming out of the weekend. I'm going to rapid fire. We're going to do this in like 60 seconds to wrap this pod. Jeremy, there's 4 NFL games this upcoming weekend. Chiefs, Texans, who do you have?
Chiefs. The refs will not allow the Texans to advance over the Chiefs. They're looking for a Chiefs Ravens or Chiefs Bills matchup. Easy.
You're 100%.
Next question. I hate the Chiefs. Go ahead.
The other number 1 seed, Lions versus Commanders.
America's team, the Lions. This team of destiny, they have to win this game. So I love the Commanders this year. They're fun to watch. Shane Daniels incredible, but it's the Lions. It's the Lions year. They're unbeatable.
All right, 2 more. Eagles, Rams.
This is going to be the closest one, I think, but I actually think I like the Rams. Just beat up the Vikings, just took them out back and kind of just
really did.
Smacked them around. I mean, just seasoned vets back there. Like Stafford looked like he's ready to win a Super Bowl. So I'm going Rams on that one. Plus the LA Fires playing for the city of Los Angeles. Can't discount the narrative.
The narrative builds. The narrative momentum.
The narrative builds.
All right, last one. This is BT's game of the week. This is a quote-unquote styles make fights game.
Yes, you love it.
Buffalo Bills, Baltimore Ravens, Josh Allen. Who do you like?
I gotta go with the Bills Mafia on this one. It's. I
think
it's a
homer pick. This is a homer pick.
It is a homer pick. Former a guy who has been to Ralph Wilson Stadium, used to sponsor the Bills. I think America needs a Bills Lions Super Bowl. I think that would be epic. 2 Rust Belt teams with explosive offenses who haven't won Super Bowls in forever. Like,
it's going to be a fun game. I'm going to go the opposite. I think we've reached peak Josh Allen. I think we're at peak Josh Allen lore at this point. Kind of like we've been in peak Mahomes lore for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But like you can't go on the internet without people talking about like Josh Allen, like unrecruited. Now he's a stud. Like it's too much. Give me Lamar Jackson. Give me a little flash. It's gonna be fun either way. But this was great. Awesome hanging out. We'll talk next week.
Good times, buddy. Hold it down. Fuck good Charlotte.
Fuck good Charlotte.
Yeah.